CompTIA Security plus exam questions. Question 1. What is the main objective of a security awareness training policy? To enforce data encryption standards. To educate employees on cybersecurity risks and best practices. To control physical access to sensitive areas. To require regular vulnerability assessments. Security awareness training educates employees about cybersecurity risks, phishing attacks, and social engineering, reducing human error and improving overall security posture. Question 2. Users who use MB Bank for personal banking fell victim to an attack after visiting a fake MB Bank website. They all access the site from your network and insist they typed the correct URL. What is the most likely explanation? Clickjacking, DNS poisoning, IP spoofing, man-in-the-middle attack. DNS poisoning occurs when DNS cache is altered to return incorrect IP addresses, directing users to fraudulent websites even when they type the correct URL. Question 3. What factors contribute to vulnerabilities that may result in threats and exposures? Employees, competitors, risks, threats. Employees contribute to vulnerabilities through weak passwords, falling for phishing attacks, failing to install updates, improper data handling, and ignoring security policies. Question 4. A systems administrator needs to identify which ports on a web server are in a listening state. Which tool is most effective? IP protocol configuration, SSH, ping, netstat. Netstat displays active network connections and listening ports, providing detailed information about port status and associated IP addresses for diagnosing port activity. Question 5. Who is responsible for deciding who gets access to data and dictating data requirements? Data owner, data custodian, data protection officer, data creator. The data owner decides who gets access to data and defines data requirements, ensuring proper policies are in place for managing and securing the data. Question 6. The difference between static KBA and dynamic KBA is that static KBA relies on predetermined security questions while dynamic KBA uses various public and private data sources, making it more secure. True, false. Static KBA uses pre-selected questions that can be guessed or discovered. Dynamic KBA generates real-time questions from user-specific data sources, making it more secure. Question 7. James manages VPN connections using IPsec. What is the main function of the authentication header, AH, in IPsec? Authenticate only the header. Authenticate the entire packet. Encrypt only the header. Encrypt the entire packet. AH provides authentication and integrity for network packets by verifying that both the header and payload have not been altered during transmission. It does not provide encryption. Question 8. An internal user's computer was compromised by another internal user. Which logs should Ethan examine to trace the source of the attack? Firewall logs. Audit logs of the attacker. Domain controller logs. Audit logs of the victim user. Audit logs of the attacker provide detailed records of actions performed on their account, including login activities, resource access, and privilege usage. Question 9. Which type of malware can be mitigated using an MX record in DNS? Rootit, bot phishing, and spear phishing attacks. Adware. MX records identify mail servers for a domain. Properly configured MX records integrated with email security protocols help defend against phishing and spear phishing attacks. Question 10. Olivia needs an authentication method that incorporates the X.509 standard and supports digitally signed authentication. Which is the best fit? Certificate-based authentication, Kerberos. OAuth. Smart cards. Certificate-based authentication uses X.509 digital certificates issued by a trusted CA to verify user identity, supporting digitally signed authentication for secure, tamper-proof verification. Question 11. Mark needs to support an older legacy application with potential vulnerabilities. What is the most effective way to prevent it from impacting the rest of the network? Implement SDN. Insist on an updated version. Run the application on a separate VLAN. Use an application container. Running the legacy application on a separate VLAN isolates it from the rest of the network, limiting access and reducing the potential risk of exploitation. Question 12. Lucas wants to set up a proxy server that controls which websites employees can access. Which type of proxy should he use? Blocking proxy, caching proxy, web proxy, content filtering proxy. A content filtering proxy controls website access by filtering content based on specific rules, blocking categories such as social media or adult content to enforce security policies. Question 13. Alex wants security integrated within an application. Why might this be a problem? Alex isn't the head of security. Security is typically handled by security products and perimeter devices. Security application is too expensive. All of the above. Specialized security products, firewalls, antivirus, IDS, offer a more thorough layered approach. Relying solely on application-level security may leave an organization exposed to threats. Question 14. Which of the following is not a benefit of using standard naming conventions? Helps administrators determine system function. Helps identify misconfigured or rogue systems. Helps conceal systems from attackers. Makes scripting easier. Naming conventions aid administration, but do not conceal systems from attackers. If attackers learn the conventions, they can use that information to target specific systems. Question 15. What is the primary goal of conducting a risk assessment when developing a business continuity plan? Provide a list of risks with counteractions. Compile a list of past crises. Identify and evaluate potential risks that could affect the organization. Prioritize risks based on likelihood and impact. Risk assessment identifies and evaluates potential risks to operations, assets, and reputation, helping the organization understand likelihood and impact to develop mitigation strategies. Question 16. Damage and impact assessment is part of which stage of the business continuity plan? Readiness, prevention, response, recovery and resumption. Damage and impact assessment occurs during the response stage, evaluating immediate effects of a disaster to prioritize recovery actions and minimize further losses. Question 17. Which document governs the relationship between two businesses? I say, Interconnection Security Agreement. ALE, Annual Loss Expectancy. SLA, Service Level Agreement. BPA, Business Partnership Agreement. A Business Partnership Agreement, BPA, is a legal document defining terms of a business relationship between two companies, including roles, responsibilities, and profit sharing. Question 18. SAM determines how and why personal information should be processed. What is SAM's role? Data consumer, data controller, data custodian, data steward. The data controller determines the purposes and methods of processing personal data, ensuring compliance with privacy regulations such as GDPR. Question 19. Which law was created to prevent the government from acting like Big Brother and protect citizens' privacy? Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, Freedom of Information Act, Intellectual Property Act, Federal Privacy Act of 1974. The Federal Privacy Act of 1974 regulates how federal agencies handle personal information, requiring accurate records, allowing individuals to access their information, and limiting disclosure without consent. Question 20. What type of programming enables easy maintenance through a random sequence of keystrokes that grant access to software? Time of check. Maintenance locks. Maintenance hooks. Countermeasures. Maintenance hooks are programming features embedded in software to provide authorized personnel with easier access for maintenance, triggered by predefined keystrokes. If not properly controlled, they pose security risks.